Uh, this is a little video about my lumbar puncture spinal tap experience, and I think I should have probably watched a video of what to expect before I had it done. Today is Saturday, and I had my lumbar puncture on Thursday. I read everything online, the Google, oh, it's really painful, the positions they put you in, and like just general information about the procedure. But I think what I wasn't informed about was what happens afterwards. Oh, there goes my power. Sorry. Especially because I'm a very active person. So I teach Pilates and I perform. And so, the use of my body is very important to my job, as it is probably to most people, right? But I didn't request off any time off of work other than the actual day of the procedure. And everything online said for some people you could even go back to work. That was definitely not my experience. If you're concerned about the pain, I've had 2 children, so I kind of use that as my perspective mode of like how painful things really, really are. And on average, I have about 3 migraines a month due to my ever-loving fluctuation of hormones that happen. So, I'm not new to the whole migraine thing. The migraines that you get from a lumbar puncture are, or at least for me, they're like nothing I've ever experienced. The hardest part is laying on your side in an uncomfortable position, staring at a blank wall as you wait for the needle to come in, like from a mental perspective, sitting there. So I tried to make jokes because I'm a performer, and I had asked the doctor to turn on some music or something to distract me because just sitting there was in silence, waiting for this to happen just didn't seem like a very good idea. So when I suggested the music, he said absolutely, and they cranked up music, and it happened to be like 80s R&B, which was perfect. I could not tell you when the needle actually went in because I have no idea, but it's, as you're sitting there for a long time, it could have happened at any point, and I have no idea. I can tell you that I did feel when they pulled the needle out. So out of anything, that was probably the hardest part, but again, it wasn't anything like life-threatening that you can't get over, right? The part that I didn't expect was the recovery process, and for every person that's completely different. They do tell you to lay flat for like 24 hours longer if you can, even though on some of the paperwork I received it said that you could go back to work. But considering what I do and how active I am, that wasn't a choice because you're supposed to have somebody drive you home. So I don't understand how going back to work and someone else driving you home can be in the same sentence. So I had taken the day off. I felt really good afterwards. I had some lower back pain, but again, like nothing that I actually had to take Tylenol for. I had some numbness and tingling, but again, I had those sensations before I even had the test done. And post-op or whatever, I laid there for about an hour. Some people it's 2. It depends on the pressure that you have in your spine. So they had said my pressure was low. And I waited for an hour, and then I went home and laid flat. I can say that I had an amazing nurse who was very strict, and she said, there are 2 things that I cannot stress to you enough, and they are drink lots of caffeine, but also lay still and flat for at least 2 days if you can, and don't work out or do anything strenuous for a week afterwards. So for me, that was huge. I didn't realize it was a week. That would have been good to know beforehand, I suppose, because of my job, and so now I've had to take time off that was unexpected. And she said, I'm not kidding, you don't get up at all and lay flat. Don't get up unless you have to pee, and then if you pee, you lay back down. If you need water, then you lay back down, but do not get up and down. Do not do household chores. She said, I'm telling you this because I see so many people who take it lightly and then they get up and they start doing dishes. She's like, this is your day to lay and be a princess and let somebody take care of you. Do not take these words lightly because you will be back here and you'll have to have what's called a blood patch done, which is more painful than the procedure you already had. I would say about 24 hours, almost exactly 24 hours after I had the procedure, the headaches came on. And I thought, well, I've been a really good student. I've literally been laying for like 2 days, other than to get up and pee. You know, I'm not going to get the headache. And I was wrong. My headaches came on in about, yeah, almost like exactly 24, 48 hours. I don't know. But it's the worst headache I've ever had in my life. I've given birth to 2 children, and this was a close second. Had it not been at like 1 a.m. when the worst of it came, I would have gone to the ER. But they started at about, I got a headache around 9 o'clock after I got home from the hospital. And, I could feel it. I didn't think anything of it. Like, oh, headaches are to be expected. It wasn't that bad. I'm good. I just limited getting up at all and trying not, to drink too much caffeine, because then it meant I was going to have to pee. And then by 1 o'clock in the morning, I can't even explain to you how painful this headache was, other than it was the worst headache of my life, coming from someone who gets them on the regular. The Tylenol and ibuprofen that I took did not even put a dent. It didn't even touch it. I was literally immobilized. Like, I felt paralyzed from the neck down because of my head. Like, I couldn't move. And I just laid there from like 1 o'clock in the morning all the way into the next morning when my children got up around 7. And I was just literally laying there crying. Snot was running down my nose. Then I got congested. So I woke up my husband in the middle of the night, and he got me some tissue paper, some toilet paper, but he didn't even know why, because he was half asleep. And then I got congested from the crying, and then I was blowing my nose, which only compounded the situation. I just wish, so this video is basically to let you know that these people are not playing around with the headaches. So just be prepared. I'm not saying that you'll have this experience, but I wish I would have known. And even taking the nurse's advice as I did, I still got really bad headaches. So I can't even imagine, had I not, adhered to that, what they would have been, because I can't imagine them to be any worse. And then even as my headache got better, getting up and going to the bathroom and those sorts of things, it became more like the migraine that I was used to. When you get up and you sit down, it literally, like, you freeze mid-motion because the pain and the pressure is so great in your head that, like, your first instinct is to duck. It sounds crazy. But as if, like, I can't even explain it. So I hope that this is not your experience, but I just want people to know that it's a possibility. And I actually know other people who've had it that were, bedridden for 5 days. So I am now on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I am day 4. I am still sitting in a dark space. I did get up today. I was more mobile. I folded some laundry and things like that around the house. And then it did catch up with me. My headaches came back on. So I would also throw out there that just when you start to feel better, don't get too crazy and get up and start doing too many things like I did. That may be an example, because then the headache does come back on. It's not as bad as it was that one night, but just be forewarned that the scenario of like staying home the day of and then going back to work the next day, I just don't think that's a realistic expectation for anybody. And I know people who've had it worse than I have, so I like, honestly, I can't even imagine. So I wish you the best of luck in yours, and lay still and drink lots of caffeine, which kind of like goes against each other, but I don't know. That's my tip. Best of luck.